This is one of the weeks I've been waiting on, man. This is one of the weeks I've been waiting on. A quote unquote star witness who is star witnessing right now. So, you know, and if you know what I mean by star witnessing, he's star witnessing, man. He's not pulling the Adrian Bean up there. I'll say that much. So y'all let me know in the comments how y'all feel about what we are seeing this week. Be sure to like this video. Make sure you share it. Talk to your friends. Let them know we are live right now. Make sure you comment and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed right now. I appreciate the support on that one. Let's go here. I'm on Twitter right now with it. Excuse me, y'all. Excuse me. What's going on, y'all? Hey, for the people that been watching on the daily, y'all let me know how y'all feel about this week. This has been an eventful week for the people that you know, it's funny. Okay, thank you, man. Curious. I think that says Curious Fran 87. Your insights are very helpful when it comes to understanding this crazy trial. Yes, I appreciate that. Thanks for tapping in. Yeah, this is a wild trial, and it's good that I work like at a computer all day, so I can really put my headphones in, put my earbuds in, and really just tap in with the trial while I type my life away. You know what I'm saying? So I posted this thing. Let's get right into it now. So let's see here. Let me see what I got here. So this started Monday out. You know, they got into a little back and forth. Brian still came at it like, yo, y'all. He felt like he was being blindsided a little bit with some evidence that the prosecution was about to add into evidence. And by the way, let me intro this thing properly. So this week, pretty much, we're going to talk about right now, we're going to talk about this YSL trial, give you a weekly update. Right now, this is the week of, what was Monday? Monday was the 8th, I think. So Monday was April 8th, and today is April 12th. So if you need a time stamp or a stamp in time to let you know where you are listening, that's what we're recapping right now. So Brian still came in. He's like, yo, I did an interview with one of the police officers that's involved with this situation. And the police officer was using his body cam and he was recording the conversation. He's like, I didn't say anything out of bounds, but just the fact that I didn't know he was recording me and I didn't know that was in evidence. So the state is like, hey, we just got it last week. And as soon as we got it, we gave it to you. And so whatever, the judge was like, we can review it. It's fine. He just didn't know about it. So I guess that was just Brian still poking at the whole, they wait too long to give us evidence. I'm assuming that's what he was doing because he seemed to not even really care. It was an interview. Hopefully he wasn't saying anything that he shouldn't have been saying in that interview. So they get back to A. Bennett, and they pretty much ask her more questions. What's your affiliation with Sex Money Murder? She's like, I'm not affiliated with it. They asked her, did she know if her ex or Young Thug was affiliated with it? She's like, I don't know. Then you know what they did? Just like they do with many of these other witnesses. As soon as they ask you, are you affiliated with a gang or do you know anything about a gang? And you say no. Of course, they roll out a video of you throwing up the set, of you claiming the set, clear as day in the video. So then they roll out this video of this lady in an apartment complex with her baby dad, King Slime or Ola Player. And she's dapped like every dude that walk up, she doing her little gang handshake and all that. She's throwing up the signs, stacking in the video, getting crazy with it, like letting it be known, I'm really with it. I'm really part of it. It is what it is. But now in 2024, she's like, no, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I never heard of it. Don't know. Sorry. But in that video, you know, they was getting to it. So they was repping it in the video hard. So Miss Love was pretty much done with her. She just, Love is, first of all, y'all remember that Adrian Love started out the direct examination of A. Bennett. And her name was A. Bennett at first because they didn't want to say her name or expose her identity. They started out like, hey, we got to protect her. Her security is in jeopardy. She lost her job, so we don't want to make her life even worse. And, you know, we just had Adrian Bean and everything went crazy with him, so we don't want to do the same thing to Miss Bennett. And then by the time the end of the testimony gets here, They throwing this lady all over the place. They put her face. Now her face has been used in the video to show that she was part of this gang. And then shortly after, with the next witness, they start saying her full name. Right. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, what was the point of the whole, hey, this is a security concern to mention this lady's name. It's a security concern to show her face, just because now she didn't testify and say the stuff you wanted her to say. So now F her security, F her safety and all that. Come on. Like, this is what I meant about Miss Adrienne Love not really understanding how to deal with her own witnesses to get them to do what she wants them to do. At the slightest hint that you are going to be difficult or that you're having a hard time testifying of what Miss Adrienne Love wants you to say, she will throw your whole life away. She really don't care. She doesn't like give you a chance to say, okay, let me try to walk you back and get you on my side. No, soon as you don't say what she wants you to say, she pretty much like throw you to the wolves. She don't really care from that point forward. She will burn you. And that's what happened. So they could have showed Miss A. Bennett's face the entire time because they exposed her crazy. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't helping enough, so they threw her to the wolves. That's true, Lester. And shout out to you for tuning in. But that is true. But my whole point is they had A. Bennett up there for days, and Miss Love had been going at her sideways since the very beginning, since she asked that question about her mom. So had Love come in with a different strategy, she might have got a completely different testimony from Miss Bennett. Right? So they finish up with Bennett. Oh, no. Adams gets Bennett in there. And Adams didn't really do much besides make it look crazy, make it look more crazy that Detective Hamilton was like pressuring her to do things off the clock. He's like, hey, good morning, mama. Or he's like, yo, let's link up later. Let's talk later. We don't got to talk shop. We could talk about some other stuff. So pretty much Adams just focused on the whole sexual harassment thing. You see what I'm saying? So there wasn't really much that they could do with Bennett. Bennett was only there to talk about the incident where her house got shut up and where she supposedly got robbed. But from day one, she pretty much said, Thug and DK and nobody ever robbed my house. They didn't shoot my house up. If they did shoot it up, I don't know because I wasn't there. I don't know who shot my house up. But I know for a fact those guys didn't rob me. I know that they didn't take that stuff from my house. And so that was her whole purpose of being there. So since she didn't tell them anything with that whole overt act that's in this indictment, that whole thing is dead now. So after she testifies, let me see, I think they brought benefits as a crime point is now testified. Okay, so then they bring in a young lady who was she now is a crime scene unit manager. I'm looking up in my notes. Her name was Porter, right? Y'all remember Porter came? She was like the shorter black lady. So Porter came in the courtroom to testify about pretty much, she was there in a capacity at Mrs. Bennett's apartment back in 2013 after the shooting happened. She was there and she took pictures of like the defects, what they were calling defects. I guess they didn't call them bullet holes, because that's just not, I guess, the technical term for it. They call them defects. So she took pictures of the door. She took pictures of the windows. She took pictures of the wall, the closet doors, all this type of stuff. And there's like defects or bullet holes in these areas. Her only purpose being in there was to say, I took pictures of these at the direction of the head detective of this case. She really didn't have any like real information to provide besides the fact that she took the pictures. I don't know if that was their way of laying foundation so that when they get the next detective up there, they can ask questions about these pictures. To me, it's redundant. And once again, it's dragging out and is wasting the jury's time to have two people that were in law enforcement that were canvassing the scene and all that. They're looking at the same thing. They're talking about the same thing. You don't need two people in here. I mean, you don't need two people to testify from the same capacity to talk about the exact same thing. It don't make sense. It's redundant. It's wasting time. So Porter comes in to do the same thing that the next detective was coming in to do. But, that was her job. So she came in there and did it. But one thing that stood out, though, is that she actually took a picture of A. Bennett holding up a phone showing the police. This is a picture of the guys who did it. And it was a picture of Young Thug and I think it was DK, right? I think that's so. I think it was DK. I don't think it was Buck. It was Thug and somebody else. But A. Bennett is holding the phone, and one of the crime scene technicians is there and took a picture of it. So she's saying like, this is evidence because this is who A. Bennett told us robbed her house. So that was, that was pretty bad evidence. However, because Bennett came in there and said they didn't do it, it looks weird, right? And then So then let's go back a little bit more. Then let's go forward. I mean, Porter comes off the stand. Then they bring back Detective Quinn to finish up talking about the infamous incident on 9/11/2013, right? Let me look at my notes real quick to see what he so pretty much Brian Steele finished up his cross-examination of of Detective Quinn. And essentially Brian Steele just wanted to hammer on the point of, if you had a 6'8" man, 350-pound man in the front seat, the likelihood I'm gonna come back to that. If you had a 6'8" man in the front seat, the likelihood that you had a 6'3" man behind him in a Nissan Altima is highly unlikely. That's the whole point that Brian Steele was trying to get off in front of the jury. It's like, it's just not really possible. Like you telling me that, first of all, not only was he crammed in the back seat, but somebody was shooting. Bullets went past this person that was supposedly in the back passenger seat on the passenger side of the car and hit pretty much everybody else in the car, and just except Bean. But it hit these guys that were like right next to Thug and right in front of Thug, supposedly Thug. Hit them, didn't hit him, and he supposedly was moving out the way. How? There would have been no room for him to move if DK was behind the driver and Fred Prethrow was directly in front with his seat pulled all the way back to fit a 350-pound person, right? So that was Brian Steele's whole angle. It's like, yo, there's no way, like, stop it. So they finished that up, and so Quinn was the final piece of, well, so far Quinn is the final piece of the incident from September 11, 2013. Nobody else has any more information on that. He was the head detective. There's no way they spent a month and a half on that incident. They didn't bring they didn't have Young Thug at all. There's no way that they proved that. So they lost that one, for sure lost that one. So let's talk about what they lost so far. Like the major crimes so far that the state definitely lost. They lost on the September 11th, 2013 incident with the shooting, robbery, and a police shooting in that whole incident. They lost bad, right? They didn't prove that. They didn't come close to proving that. They also lost with the A. Bennett home robbery and the A. Bennett shooting, right? More overt acts that supposedly Young Thug directed DK to do XYZ. They lost. A. Bennett gave them nothing. But I'll show you more about how they lost, because the detective now, after Quinn gets off the stand, we have a Detective Kirkman, who was the head detective of the case where A. Bennett's house was robbed, right? So Detective Kirkman is like, this lady walked into the police precinct, told us that her house just got robbed. So we went out to her home, and pretty much, she gave us all the information. She told us that they stole these items, right? Thousands of dollars, some Dre headphones is what he called them, some heroin. Like, so supposedly Bennett walked in the thing and said all that. And remember back when Attorney Love was questioning A. Bennett, and she said, did you walk to the police station? And Bennett is like, why would I walk to the police station? I had a car. So pretty much what Love was mixing up is the fact that Kirkman wrote in his report that she walked into the police station, not that she walked from her house to the police station. So if y'all remember that detail, I don't know why that detail stood out to me, but that's one of some of the discourse that they had, where Bennett is like, why would I walk to the police station? Like I drove, or I would have driven because I have a car. I had a Porsche. You know what I'm saying? I remember that. This was a standout to me. So Kirkman is like, yeah, she told me all this stuff. She walked in, she told me this. We went to her house. We did this whole investigation crime scene thing. I'm going to speed this one up because we can condense what Kirkman said, right? So pretty much Kirkman is like, I got all this information from her. I told her I'm going to follow up. I called her back. She never answered, and she never called me back. So I put this case on the back burner. Like, normally if a victim is not pressing the issue, I have too many cases. My caseload is too heavy. I can't chase a victim around. If they don't want help, I'm not going to help them. He didn't say those words exactly, but that's pretty much what happened. If you don't call a cop back, or like a detective or whatever like that, they're not really going to chase you. The people that's going to chase you is like prosecutors when they need you to testify against somebody, they'll chase you. But police officers, like, you said you wanted help. If you don't want help, then we'll leave you unhelped. Pretty much that's how cops operate, right? Now, one thing that was very important that stood out in this whole thing, shout out to you, Lou. One thing that stood out about this whole thing is that Detective Kirkman felt like A. Bennett was lying so much, he put it in his report. So as they've been using the term memorialized, Detective Kirkman memorialized in his report that he felt like Bennett was lying. He didn't say, and they asked him, like, what do you think she was lying about? He's like, I don't remember why I wrote that, but I just had the feeling she was lying. And that's very important because it makes sense why none of this story makes sense. It makes sense why none of this makes sense, right? So if Detective Kirkman said, yo, I think she's lying about something. So we don't know if she was trying to do like an insurance claim situation. Because guess what? With an insurance claim, you only need to call the police and tell them enough to get a report. Once you get their report, then you take it over to the insurance company and you can get whatever you want from that. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't know if y'all ever, you know what I'm saying? This is for the people that get a little bit more grimy out there. If y'all ever did one of those like robbery, you know what I'm saying? Somebody broke in my house thing. You know that they don't go by every single thing that's on that police report, right? You don't have to list everything on a police report. When it's time to make your claim of what items you lost, you can put anything on there. So Atlanta is the scam capital. So we don't know if maybe she made that story up so that she can get, a little insurance claim or make her renter's insurance pay her. You never know. Atlanta, like I said, Atlanta is the scam capital. So they could have been playing a game like that. I'm not saying I ever did something like that, but I'm saying that I could see why somebody would do it. Okay. Now, let's go forward a little bit. Let's go past Kirkman, because now when I say Kirkman wrote in his report that A. Bennett was lying, or he thought she was lying, and the reason that he never followed up with her again is because his caseload was too heavy and she wasn't returning his calls. That essentially is why they lost out on this overt act too. So again, now we getting into the major crimes that they're being accused of. And so far you got two shooting incidents, two armed robbery incidents where they're not able to put Thug. First of all, they're not able to put Thug at the September 11th, 2013 incident. And they're not able to put him at the Mother's Day 2013 incident because the victim said he didn't rob me. And then in the other case, the 9/11 shooting, the only person that ever put Thug in, now he refused to talk now. So even though they played the interrogation tape, because Adrian Bean lied at every turn, he lied everywhere to everybody. Because he did that, the jury cannot convict somebody based on what Adrian Bean says. It's just not, there's no evidence, there's no witness that'll even come on the stand to corroborate anything Adrian Bean said, right? And remember that 911 call, they redacted Young Thug's name, first of all, but even in that video, even in listening to that phone call, they don't know who that woman is, and that person never came to court to testify. So again, two major overt acts dead, right? Now let's move on. So then they bring in, now I was in the law and crime chat, so I seen everybody, like this stood out to everybody. They bring back the police CAD reader lady, like the dispatch lady, whatever her job title is, to read this CAD report to us and explain to us what we're seeing and all that. But everybody refers to her and remembers her as the lady with the sniffles, right? Y'all remember the lady who just, her nose was running? And like, I thought that she was sick back in January when she came in there. But the fact that her nose is running and she's sniffling the same way in April. What's going on, lady? Okay. So if y'all seen the chat going on Law and Crime, everybody was like, that was the whole thing. Like she came back just to sniffle 1,000 times and to read us the CAD report once again. All right. So we don't really need to discuss. And listen, young lady, I'm not trying to disrespect you. I'm making light of it. It is funny that you've been sniffling that much, but if you do have some real ailment with your nasal passage, I hope you get that fixed. I don't mean to make light of it. Okay, so let's move on.